Julius Randle trade destinations are on tap for today's video. But before we get rolling, I want to ask you this question. If you could only have one of these guys on the Knicks next year, who would it be? Type 30 for Julius or number 9 for RJ Barrett. Welcome into New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. In today's video, I'm going to give you 4 places that I think Julius Randle could get traded if he does get dealt. So far this summer on the channel, I haven't talked too much about the Knicks trading Julius Randle because honestly, I think it's unlikely that he does get traded. But I wanted to go through some ideas of if they did move on from him, where it could be. Because a lot of people, I've been including RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and Quentin Grimes in some of my trade ideas because that's who I believe that other teams would want. And that's led people to believe that I love Julius Randle. I do love what he's done for the Knicks. But I do believe for the Knicks to get to where they want to be in the Eastern Conference, I don't know if Julius Randle can be on this basketball team. I say all that to say he's been absolutely great for the New York Knicks, specifically 2 out of the 4 years. I mean, this past year, he was one of the best players in the NBA, right? 25 points per game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, really efficient. He was a third-team All-NBA member. We know he struggled in 2021 and 2022, but the year before that is when he was the most improved player, second-team All-NBA. The thing with Julius, though, that I know I'm frustrated with, and I know you're frustrated with, is the lack of playoff production. He gives you these all-NBA seasons, these MVP-type performances when it's the regular season. But in the playoffs, he's been unable to carry that same level of production, only averaging 16 points per game, 8 rebounds, less than 4 assists. And those numbers are fine. Like, if he gave me those numbers, but he was efficient, I'd be okay. But those numbers on terrible efficiency at 37% from the field and an atrocious 25.8% from deep, I just can't get in bed with that. My take overall, trading Randle only makes sense if you are getting an upgrade in the starting lineup. I used to be in the camp that just trade Randle, get him off this team no matter what. But I've grown up. I've matured. The widow's peak, it's got even better. And it's made me more wise. Randle's a good player. In fact, he's one of the best 35-40 players in the NBA. I mean, 2 All-NBA selections in the past 3 seasons. There's not a long list of players that have done that. So I understand how good and how important he is and how he sometimes can just win you stretches of games in the regular season. But if there is an upgrade to be made or a better fit to be made, I do think the right move would be trading Julius Randle. We got 4 trade destinations and a trade idea and some more stats and stuff coming up around the corner. But if the Knicks make a move, maybe it's surrounding Randle or they sign somebody else, we will break it down. So subscribe to New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports for videos every single day on your favorite basketball team. Alrighty, let's dive into it. These are going to be in order, my Julius Randle trade destinations, in order of, I would say, most likely, or trades that I think would make the most sense. Most likely is probably the wording I want to use there. Number 1, the Philadelphia 76ers. And there's a couple of different trades that he could be involved in for going to Philly. Number 1, I could see him going for James Harden. I don't want James Harden on this team, but Woj has said that the Knicks have interest in Harden. I could also see him down the line being involved for a Joel Embiid trade. But the main guy that I think he could be traded for is Tobias Harris. If you have any friends that are Philadelphia 76ers fans like I do, Tobias Harris is their Julius Randle. They just want him off the team. They don't want him here anymore. He hasn't been able to be that perfect fit next to James Harden, Joel Embiid. They chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. What an L that was. But as much hate as he gets, he's a solid basketball player, man. Last couple of years, the points per game has gone down, but also his usage and his overall touches have gone down. But he's maintained that elite efficiency, which is something that I love about his game. Never shooting below 47% from the field each of the last 4 years, and never shooting less than 36.7% from downtown. He could play the 3, he could play the 4, and I think he'd be a seamless fit at the power forward spot next to Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett. Not to mention the head coach for the New York Knicks, Tom Thibodeau, that guy, he absolutely loves Tobias Harris. He has gone on record time and time again speaking the praise of Harris. He did so last December and said this: I think you look at that team being the Sixers, and obviously Embiid and Harden are probably established, but I always thought Tobias Harris was one of the most underrated players in the league. I think it's also important to know that Tobias Harris is on a $39.2 million expiring deal, which means there's not a whole lot of risk in a trade like this. If the Knicks made the trade and Tobias Harris, the New York native, shit the bed when he put on the orange and blue, they can move off of him and get $39 million in cap space, which right now might not be useful as the Knicks are pretty much close to that hard cap or right at that hard cap, but down the line, it can make some sense. We talked about this trade idea in the office, and when we put trade ideas on the show, they don't always come from my brain. Well, you might think they do because they look so good, but this one was a collective effort. What do you think about this trade? The Knicks get Tobias Harris. They get Furkan Korkmaz. What a name. Remember when he requested a trade? Yeah, that was wild. And 2 future second-round picks, and the Knicks give up Julius Randle and Evan Fournier. I'll ask you, would you make this trade? If Daryl Morey offered you, the general manager of the Knicks, this trade, to Tobias Harris, Korkmaz, and 2 second-round picks for Julius Randle and Evan Fournier, would you do the deal? Type A for accept, type D for decline. I want to hear from all the Knicks fans down in the comment section. I think the second most likely trade destination for Julius Randle, if the Knicks do move off of him, is the Toronto Raptors. Kind of like for the Philadelphia 76ers, he could be traded for a couple of different players. OG Anunoby is the first guy that comes to mind. We know the Knicks were interested in Anunoby dating back to the trade deadline and dating back to last offseason when I told you guys that the Knicks were interested in OG Anunoby. But the player I think that they could give up Randle for is Pascal Siakam. Siakam is a really, really good player, no doubt about it. Had his best season in the NBA this past year, but it doesn't sound like it's all peaches and cream in Toronto. Michael Grange, a longtime reporter of the NBA, said this: an interesting player to monitor as the NBA transaction market heats up is Raptors star Pascal Siakam. I keep hearing his name out there per multiple sources. So when I saw this, the question I asked to myself is Julius Randle better or worse than Pascal Siakam? Let's compare what they did this past year. Points per game, right about the same. Rebounds per game, I would say Randle is notably a better rebounder than Pascal Siakam. Siakam, though, he's got him beat on assists per game by 1.7 per night. I don't know if Siakam is just 100% a better playmaker than him, but the assist numbers, they show that. Field goal percentage, I would say Siakam is a little bit more efficient, but I would say that there's more diversity in Julius Randle's shot profile than Siakam, where Siakam just wants to get to the cup at all costs, and he's really a terror when it comes to defenses attacking from the free throw line down. And I think it's obvious that Randle is a much better jump shooter than Pascal Siakam, especially from deep. But when you talk about Randle, the shortcomings always get brought up in the NBA postseason. So I thought, you know what? If we're going to grade Randle on his postseason success or lack thereof, let's talk about Pascal Siakam and his. I went and totaled the last 3 postseasons that Siakam has played in for the Raptors, and he's played in 41 games in the playoffs. And in those games, he's given you 19 points per night, 7.2 rebounds, just about 3.5 assists, and he's efficient from the floor, no doubt about it, 45.1%. But like Randle, that 3-point percentage is brutal in the playoffs, and I have to ask and wonder, can the Knicks win a championship with a power forward that doesn't stretch the floor, considering their center, Mitchell Robinson, is not a guy that's an offensive threat whatsoever? I'll ask you, though, pick a player. Who would you rather be the starting power forward for the New York Knicks, let's say this season? Maybe it was just a trade straight up, Randle for Siakam. Who would you rather have? Type JR for Julius or PS for Pascal Siakam. I think the third most likely Julius Randle trade destination is the New Orleans Pelicans. Unlike the 76ers and Raptors where the Knicks could trade Randle for multiple different players, there's only one guy that I would like from New Orleans, unless it was Brandon Ingram. Pelicans ain't giving up Brandon Ingram. Good old Zion Williamson. He's CAA. He wanted to be a Knick. The list goes on and on and on about why the Knicks could take a swing at Zion Williamson. But there are some major concerns with Zion, and I know that. I'm not saying I would do all of these deals. I'm just giving you my best thoughts on what the destination could be. We know that injuries are a problem from Zion. He's missed a whole lot of games. No doubt about that. I think it's just wasting oxygen at this point to talk about how Zion Williamson is an injury-prone player. But, man, when that guy's on the hardwood, when he's playing basketball and he's locked in, he's one of the best young players in the NBA. But as we know, the best ability is availability. But when he was available in that 2020 season, averaging 27 points per game when he played almost all 72 games, the dude was one of the best power forwards in the league and one of the best young, brightest stars the association had to offer. 27-7, almost 4 assists, 61% from the field. The thing that I would say with Zion is you got to be worried about the injuries. You also have to be worried about the immaturity. And you have to wonder if he is a guy that is dedicated to ball and he wants to do everything it takes to be one of the best players in the NBA. I don't know the answer to that. And I would be very worrisome if the Knicks traded for Zion. But I do know this. If the Knicks are going to take a swing for the frickin' fences like the bases are loaded. Don't go swinging for someone cheap. Go swing for Zion Williamson and see if you can risk it for the biscuit. We've got one more trade destination to break down when it comes to Julius Randle. But first, you guys need to get hooked up with our awesome brand new black Knicks Now Real One t-shirts. Rep Chat Sports, rep Knicks Now, and rep the squad, the New York Knicks. Right here, chatsports.com/realknicks, and save 20% off by using the promo code SummerVibes20. That link's in the comments and description of today's video. The last place that I could really see Julius Randle being traded to is the Minnesota Timberwolves. And obviously this one would be for Sir Purr, a.k.a. Karl Anthony Towns, Big Cat. I don't want Karl Anthony Towns on this team. I think that Julius Randle is a better player than Towns. I know I'm probably in the minority there. But I also don't know if this guy, is this a Fetty guy? I don't think that Julius Randle's a Fetty guy. But do I want to trade a non-Fetty guy for a non-Fetty guy? And what do I mean by a Fetty guy? Can I see this face with an NBA championship hat on it and he has confetti falling on him in Madison Square Garden? I don't get that vibe from Sir Purr. When you talk about the two players, though, and who is the better guy, let's look at last year. Karl Anthony Towns played in less than 35 games due to injury, so I don't think this is the best case scenario to decide who's the better player, but I think it's always good to look at numbers side by side. Where the arrow does swing, though, to Karl Anthony Towns' favor is how he's been more effective and more efficient in the playoffs. Points per game for both these guys in the playoffs, though, go down a good bit. 18.6 for Cat, 17.1 for Randle. Rebounds per game about the same. I would honestly say they're both subpar defenders. I think Randle has a little bit more versatility to his defensive game because he can guard guys on the perimeter a little bit better. I think he's stronger, has a better base, and can move laterally a little bit better. But Cat has at least been efficient in the playoffs, shooting 47%, while, as we know, Randle is one of the least efficient playoff players of all time. Outside of the part that I don't think Cat is a Fetty guy and a winner and someone that I would call a foxhole guy, another reason I don't want him is because he's one of the most expensive players in the NBA, and I don't think the guy is worth $50 million next year, and I definitely don't think he's going to be worth $62 million in 2027 and 2028. But the things to like about Cat, he's a big power forward. I would say he's a very skilled offensive player. He could shoot the long ball at a better clip and efficiency rate than Julius Randle, and the Knicks could have more spacing on their offense, as I would say Cat kind of operates more on the perimeter, and he's a better pick-and-roll player. So you could go either side. Who's better? I'm going to roll with Julius Randle. I'll ask you, though, who is the better hooper? Is it Randle? Is it Cat, a.k.a. Sir Purr? I just can't have anyone on this team with the nickname of Sir Purr. I'll ask you, J for Randle, K for Cat. As always, just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. If you want to talk more about the Knicks, Randle, anything New York Knicks basketball, hit me up on Twitter @MarshallGreen_.